Hi, this is Latrice again, and welcome to the Titus 2 Woman channel. So I wanted to do a video today on reprieve to rebellion. And the reason why I am speaking of this subject matter today is because this is something that the church isn't teaching, and it is, I believe, happening or has happened in people's lives, and they're not aware. Prayerfully, God has revealed, that this is the matter of which led them to, wherever they are in life, or to whatever the situation that they may be having in their life, or whatever situation you may be having in your life. And I just wanted to share this lesson talking about reprieve to rebellion. Okay, and the reason why I've titled this reprieve to rebellion is because a lot of times we cover things with the word deliverance, right? I remember praying to God and asking God to deliver me and I believe now that the deliverance that I thought was deliverance was a reprieve. And so let's get into the definitions of these words so that we can kind of have some kind of understanding, to get, we both are. Well, let's first get the definition so that we can both have understanding of where I'm going. Okay, so the word reprieve, the definition is to temporary escape or break from an undesirable or unpleasant situation, right? And so this is why I believe reprieve it can be mistaken for deliverance, right? Now, I guess for people, deliverance may look a certain way, or we think, and that's one of the things that I'm learning about in this walk, right? That we think things look one way, or we think things are one way, or they may seem one way, but I'm learning that what I may have thought, or what from the teaching that I had, that it's totally different from the actuality, right? So the definition for deliverance is liberated or liberation, freeing, rescue, right? It also means to set free, right? So again, reprieve is very close to deliverance, because reprieve again is a temporary escape. So they could feel like, okay, I'm free, or a break from an undesirable, unpleasant situation. So if I'm praying to God and I'm asking God for deliverance, and I'm asking God to deliver me from an unpleasant or an undesirable situation, and he gives me a reprieve, we can easily consider that as deliverance, or see it as deliverance, because it's freeing, or because we're free, right? Or because we've been rescued, or seemingly that we've been rescued, we've been liberated, or seemingly that we've been liberated, or that we've been set free. All of these words are under the definition of deliverance, right? And so as I was thinking about reprieve and the definition of reprieve, I was brought to the example of deliverance that the children of Israel received from God. So when God delivered the children of Israel, so as you may know, that the children of Israel were in bondage, meaning they were in captivity. You look back, the last video, I gave a definition of captivity, meaning to be confined, to be imprisonment, seemingly a person that was taken at war. They had to leave. No, it was exile. But this is so close to each other, so it seems that same words. So yeah, they're imprisoned, confined, and treated with great cruelty and treatment causing shame. So the children of Israel were in that situation, right? And they were told that they would be delivered, and so now the time came for God to deliver them. And so there were some events that happened that looks very different than the word and definition reprieve, right? One, when they were delivered, or we're going to use the definition set free. One, they were led out of Egypt, which is where they were, which is where they were confined, right? Which is the place where they were being oppressed. They were let out. They were released from Egypt by Pharaoh. Now, Pharaoh would then be the person that was oppressing them, right? So they were released by Pharaoh. He told them that they could go. So, okay, fine. Now they're leaving. They're walking out. They're gone. Now, as they're leaving, yes, they are freeing. They are liberated. They are set free, right? They've now been rescued, right? So then, not only have they been all those things, the king, the Pharaoh, now begins to come behind them and chases them, right? So now he's coming back. He's coming for them because now he has changed his mind, and he has decided that no, he's not going to give them up. So what happened was, as we know, they crossed over on dry land through the Jordan River. Pharaoh and them came after them, and they were drowned. The waters came back together, and they were drowned, right? So now the nation that had them confined, the one that was oppressing them, is now no longer a nation. That person is no longer there. God has completely eradicated that person, even as a threat or anything to them, right? That person, Pharaoh, his army, no longer there, right? Okay. So with that being said, that's a picture, or that's an example of deliverance. Now, a picture of reprieve would then be something like, okay, you've been praying, asking God, like, God, I'm waiting on you, or God, this is too, God, you said you wouldn't put more on me than I can bear, and God, this thing right here that you're asking me to stay in, or this thing that you have given me, or this place that I'm at is too much for me to bear, and I'm asking you to deliver me. And he may then give you a reprieve where he allows you to be able to leave for a moment and get away, to take a break, to just kind of give you a moment to regroup, right? That's more like a reprieve, where you had a break from it, or you had a temporary escape from it, right? So those are two totally different pictures, two totally different ways, okay? And so this is where I believe that the church is not teaching, and people begin to really get in trouble here, right? So, I want to say that, um, for example, God has, God has, you have made a vow to God that you would do something, and you have made a vow to Him, and you've come to a what they call it, you come to a fork in a road where you're like, I don't think that I can do this. This is too much. I think I put too much on my plate. And now you're thinking, God, I need you to deliver me. I need you to take this away. God, this is not working, right? And so, for instance, God give you a reprieve, but you're thinking that you're thinking that you're delivered, right? Because no one has told you that it is temporary. No one has shown you or talked to you about the difference, right? And so, as you're kind of hearing in your heart that, okay, it's time to go back, or God is now trying to uh, deal with you on why it is, that it was so hard. He's trying to show you that, maybe it's some things in you that needs to be changed, or that needs to be worked on, so that you can be able to withstand what's happening, in the place of where you've made this solemn vow, or you've made this promise, or you are in this position, right? And so now you're hearing God saying, okay, it's okay, it's time to return. And you like, no, I'm delivered, right? and he's still saying, I want you to. He didn't necessarily tell you that it was only a reprieve, but you're knowing in your spirit it's time to go back. It's time to go back and deal with what it is that you were taken from, and you have decided that you're not gonna go back. At this point, you fully in, like, you know what? No, I can't do it. It's too hard. I don't want to do it. And you may have even enjoyed this freedom, this escape, this break so much, where you like you can't do it. It can't happen. Going back is not even an option for you, and you then kind of go back and forth, talking with God, back and forth with Him, trying to make deals, trying to, get Him to change His mind. And then sometimes just be like, just flat out, you gonna do it your way. That's when you are now in the territory of rebellion, right? And one thing that I've learned is God says for us to come to Him and to bring your cause, and let you and Him, He and I, let us talk about whatever it is, so that so I can get an understanding, so that He can hear how I feel about it. And so He does do that. And even in that period of time where you're in a reprieve, and you're headed towards rebellion, and He's trying to have a conversation with you, and you like, no, I'm not gonna do it. And there comes a point where you've made your stand that, you know what, I'm going to stay and move forward from here, and I'm not gonna go back. And He has to then accept what you have decided to do, and so He's not going to any longer really pressure you about it, right? And so that's where then you have you have now become rebellious. You have now become or walked into the action of resisting authority, resisting control. You have now walked into the disobedience to God. And a lot of times we feel that, a lot of times we feel because we have an excuse and because we have a reason that God understands and that God is okay with whatever decision we've chosen. So we be like, okay, well, God, this is the reason why I did it, and so you have to accept it. And that's not necessary, and that's not always the case how it works with him, right? So I just want to name a few causes that will have us to step into rebellious because we've decided not to go back to what it is that he's calling us to go back to. One of them being we're putting trust in ourselves, right? We're thinking that we're looking at the situation and thinking we're using our limited wisdom that that this is what this is, and that there's no other possible scenario. There's no other possible there's no possible explanation for what we see. That what we see is what it is, and that is what it is. And no, that's not true. He says that we're reacting basically to what's temporal, and what's temporal doesn't last. It's what's in the spirit realm, it's what's spiritual. Those things are eternal, right? And so we're acting and responding to what's temporal, and therefore we're using our own limited wisdom, and we're wrong. We don't know the whole truth. We're thinking we know the whole truth because of what we see, and we don't know the whole truth. That's one. The second thing is we're not patient. We're not having patience to wait, having the patience. We are not having the patience to wait on the throne, right? We asked for the reprieve. God has given it to us because we felt like, it was too much for us. But remind you, most of the time, the reason why we even ask for the deliverance, right, is because we're waiting for a change. We're waiting for, that time between the prayer of God, whatever this situation your will for it to look like. We're waiting for that manifestation, and we're waiting for that, but we're in a place where it doesn't look like what he said it will be. So we don't have the patience for waiting to get to the manifestation of the promise, right? So we're ready to go. We ready to go, and we think that is a legitimate reason why we don't have to go back. Another reason or another cause is anger and bitterness. A lot of times it may be the fact of us leaving a person, and at this point we like, because I'm angry with them, and I just don't want to be bothered with them no more. And a lot of times I was just going to say it, we're kind of in denial. We don't think that we're bitter. We don't think that we're angry because because we think that we've kind of dealt with it. But our rebellious show that we're still angry and we're bitter, right? Another thing, another cause and another reason is bad advisors. Now, bad advisors this right here is, it has a couple of tentacles to it, right? One, it can be bad advisors, meaning people. It could be social, like uh people, doing stuff, doing things in the world, and or people, you seeing the people lives being lived a certain way and you want to live that way, um that's a way of a bad advisor. I would say another example of a bad advisor is when someone is telling you to if someone is telling you, oh no girl, don't go back, no, 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 and you heard go back, or God been dealing with you to go back, and someone is telling you not to go back. Another example is even whether it's a family member, whether it's mother, or whether it's grandmother, whether it's your friend. All of those are considered bad advisors. Even if it's a pastor, I mean, just all of those are bad advisors if it's going against you knowing for sure that you're hearing to go one way and you're absolutely deciding to go another, right? So that's another example. Also, ambition. Again, we will, and I could believe this, that we don't even consider ambition as a cause or a reason, because it's, a lot of times when we decide to be rebellious, it's not necessarily that we're looking to go and achieve this greatness, but in the back of, or maybe the second reason why you're not going back, it has something to do with furthering your career, or furthering what it is that you want to do other than what God wanted you to do, right? Another thing, pride, we know that, and fear. Fear of what was already happening when you were there, fear of people talking about you, fear of what people would think. It's a lot of things, to it that goes with fear. But what we don't realize when we begin to jump aboard the rebellious train is it now opens the door for Satan's control. It now opens the door for spiritual bondage. It now opens the door for ugly consequences to now begin to come and will begin to show up in your life. And you even, and to be honest, you'll even forget or not even be aware of the difference that this doesn't look like deliverance. When these consequences come, you don't even realize that this doesn't look like deliverance. This doesn't feel like deliverance. This is not at all deliverance, right? And so we have to really, it's really important now that someone begins to speak on this. And I'm really glad that that I was like, I have to share this. I have to share this because I know it is not being taught in the church, right? So one of the things or should I say, one of the consequences that will begin to show up and does not at all look like rebellion, or one of the consequences that will show up that does not at all look like deliverance, because we have now decided to rebel, one, against against God's lawful sovereignty, and 2, against God himself, when we decide that no, we're going to now disobey him. Okay? And so even before the consequences, we don't realize that now this decision will not just affect us, it will affect our children, it will affect our children's children. It will, whether it actually seems like it or not, it will affect your finances, it would affect your home, it can affect health, it can affect so many areas of your life. And again, you're not even noticing that it's not deliverance. That is not what deliverance is defined as, right? And so another thing that shows up is you begin to also kind of hear, you kind of also begin to not hear or have God kind of pulling on your heart to go back anymore. Then you'll get to this place where you are, your pride will kind of begin to show or come forth more, because now you're like, I'm doing what I want to do. I'm doing me, and you're thinking that, oh, I'm delivered, I'm doing me, but not knowing that you doing me as being rebellious, right? Another thing that, another thing that shows up is, just the lies. Like you really be deceived. You really be deceived that things are better. That like this like, it's like you really be deceived like that this is a fresh breath, and it's not. And once the consequences begin to come in, you at first don't even really know, or it doesn't even really like come to your thoughts as, oh, this is a consequence, right? Or this is, you just kind of you kind of think of it like, oh, this is just, another test, or or this is just a hurdle that I have to get over, or whatever. And that's just where you deceive. Like, no, that's a consequence, right? And I believe with this video, you are now begin to see, this video can help you now begin to see where it is that you may have become rebellious. And this video will help you to begin to see the consequence and understanding, no, this isn't really deliverance that I'm in. I was in a reprieve state, and I've turned it into a rebellious state, and now I've opened the door for these consequences to come in, and Satan's controls to come in. And now what do I do? So let's just first get to some of the consequences, and I'm going to read some consequences. It's from a commentary from the verse Proverbs chapter 17. It's from Proverbs 17 verse 11, and I'm going to read the commentary. It states that if you rebel against his lawful sovereignty, that a messenger shall be sent to you to take you into custody, and he will show you no mercy. Right? And an executioner will deal with you, who will not spare to perform his orders. Let me say it again. If you rebel against his lawful sovereignty, a messenger shall be sent by him being God, to take you into custody. And this messenger will show you no mercy. There will be an executioner that will come to deal with you, and he will not spare to perform the order that was given to him to perform regarding you, because of the disobedience, right? Because of the rebellion. Secondly, the rebellion against God. The rebellion against God will cause judgment of God shall fall on you in a way, or in a very severe manner. Your own conscience will claim that someone is doing something wrong to you. Second, you will be filled with dreadful anxiety or fear that something bad or unpleasant will happen due to divine vengeance. And thirdly, Satan, the angel of death, shall be loose upon you to terrify, destroy you, or death itself, which spares none. So these consequences are now things coming into your life that may seem like they're really consequences that are harder than what it was that you were originally going through. That's one thing. Second thing is you're kind of dealing with it on your own also. So it's not so like when you're not rebelling against God, you have his mercy, you have his grace, you have his help, you have his hand, you have his angels, you have everything for you. Nothing is against you, right? But when you rebel against God, now you do not have all these things. There's a scripture where he even talks about turning his face from you, right? And so when you now have this message that comes to you to take you into custody, that show you no mercy, now you may have a situation where now people are dealing with you. They're going against your name. They're trying to sue you. You have all kind of things that could be coming up against you now, against people. Then you have where it says the executioner. Now that's someone that's ready to take all your stuff. That's one thing. Executioner to take all your stuff, take your health, take all the promises that God had promised you, because guess what? God will not bless you in your rebellion, because the only thing it will cause is more rebellion. So he's not going to bless you in your rebellion, right? So now you got the executioner that's coming to take all your stuff. Then you have judgment, the judgment of God to fall on you. And then and it says in a very severe manner, the judgment of God could mean, again, no blessing, no peace, no security, no joy, no happiness. And then you have these light times of happiness or times of joy, and you thinking that, I'm delivered. And you're not. And you're not. Then he says that you're thinking in your own conscience that somebody doing something to you. Or somebody doing you wrong. So this is even saying you're not even thinking right. You don't even have him to help you think correctly. Then let's not forget the dreadful anxiety, the dreadful fear. Now you already had fear. That's one of the reasons why you that's part of the reason you were being rebellious. But now you have fear, and then you have fear of that, and now you have fears of other things along with that, and anxiety. So now you extra stressed. You really going through some things because you're being rebellious. But this is the thing about us, though. We'll still walk around and just be dealing with these things as everything is all right. And we'll go to church, we'll cry, we'll even shout, we'll read a few scriptures, and we'll be like, oh, okay, I feel better today. And then a few hours later, or even 24 hours later, you back to having to deal with all these things. And never do you ask, why? Why am I dealing with these things? Or this not deliverance. This not deliverance at all. Right? So, in this video, I'm hoping that this will be able to open our eyes to one, to remember, because first, if we are the children, sons and daughters of God, we're not supposed to be dealing with stress, fear, anxiety, our stuff being stolen. We're not supposed to be dealing with bondage. We're not supposed to have people coming against our name, people trying to sue us. Now, the thing is, the weapon will form, but it won't prosper. The difference between that and these consequences, they're prospering. So I don't want you to have understanding, well, oh, we're supposed to have these issues. He said that we will have trials and tribulations. He did. But at the same time, we have him as a comforter. We have the Holy Spirit to give us directions, to give us understanding, to give us peace of mind. Even in the trials and tribulations, we can have peace. He didn't give us fear, because he said he didn't give us the fear. He didn't give us a spirit of fear, but it gave us a sound mind. So we can't say that, oh, these aren't true consequences. These are just like everything else that a person that's not being rebellious go through. That's not true. And so I don't want you to feel like, oh, you just deal with the same thing everybody else deal with, because no, it's not deal just with this just like everybody else deal with, because that's not true. Okay? So how do you overcome, or how do you come out of being rebellious? First, recognize the cause that got you there in the first place. What got me to, why, what made me choose? What was the causes? What was the reasons? Did I not trust God? Did I not have patience to wait on God? Was I afraid? Was I angry? Was I bitter? And then begin to change those things. Once recognize them. Okay, God, I need you now to help me to trust you. God, I'm gonna trust you and I need you to help me trust you. Okay, God, I need patience. I need you to help me to be patient, to wait on you to deliver the promise that you said you would deliver me. God, I need you to help me to forgive so that I'm not angry and I'm not bitter. God, I need you to help me to to get where it is that I desire to be. God, I have hopes and dreams and desires for this career, for this, to write this book, to go travel, to go do this, to go do that. Lord, this is my desire. You said that you would give me the desires of my heart. Begin to give these things to him. Getting to give him the fears. God, I fear this, I fear this, God, I fear this, and you told me not to fear no man. So God, I need you to help me to not fear. And God, and then with the bad advisors, listen. I don't know if you ever had a bad advisor before, and that's one thing that I, through just in my experience, I've decided that I would not tell a person to leave their spouse, because one, I know that that's a vow, I know that that's a covenant, and I know that's between them and God. I don't care how much the person tells me. I will not, because I'm putting I'm not getting my hands on putting my hands on that. And so we have to then even be careful. We have to be careful with telling people what's going on, and even listening to people when they're telling us to do what it is that we want to do. And that's the thing. So the bad advisor is really telling you to do what it is that you already want to do anyway. You telling them, I don't want to go back, and they like, yeah, girl, don't go back. See, why are you telling me that? Whose side are you really on? Because here it is, God's telling me to go, I'm saying not to go, and then you gonna come over and be on my side? I need to rethink this. We need to rethink who this is who we letting be the advisors, who we letting speak us out here. We really have to. So again, and we need to pray. God, send me who it is that needs to be advising me. Right? So let's first recognize the causes and pray and go to God with your causes. And then second, repent. Turn. God, you calling me to go back? I'm gonna be honest with you, because I already know. Because he already know. God already know you don't want to go back. Or God already know you don't want to do it. And we have to. And then that's the great part about having a relationship with him, because he already know. He already know you. He already know you, and better than you know yourself. So even if you thinking like, even if you're your man, you like, I'm gonna go back, or I'm gonna go do it, but I'm gonna put one finger in and I'm gonna leave four out. He know that's how you think it. So it's better to just go to him and ask him to help you. Be like, I want to obey you. I want to obey your word. I want to do what it is that you say. But God, it's hard for me to do what you say right now. You want me to do that? It's hard for me. Oh, I'm gonna need you to hold my hand. I'm gonna need you to help me. I'm gonna need you to look. I'm gonna close my eyes and I'm gonna put 2 feet in, and I'm gonna need you to help me hold. I'm gonna need you to hold them there, right? And he will help you. He will help you. I want you to know today, he will help you. And so after you recognize, after you repent, then there has to be forgiveness and humility, right? We have to forgive. We have to forgive what caused the whole rebellion in the first place. Whether it is we didn't want to be there anyway, whether it was we have to forgive God for us being in the situation, even though we probably was the reason why we're in the situation. We have to forgive God for having us to stay in the situation, even though we may not want to stay in the situation. We have to forgive the person, if it's people or whomever. We have to forgive everybody that is a part of the equation, that's into the equation, even ourselves. We have to even forgive the people, the bad advisors, the advisors, that the people that come and be like, well, I told you so, or whatever. We have to forgive. We have to forgive. We got to forgive. And then we have to be humble. We have to be humble and be like, again, I can't, God, if you don't help me do this, I can't do it. If you don't help me get this done, there's no way it will be done. Right? And so I want to encourage you, to let you know that it can be, that you can overcome rebellion, and that you can turn around. And I will say to be encouraged, because God will forgive. I believe that God will, once you repent, once you turn, that God will remove the consequences. As he has said before, He will cleanse you. He will cleanse us of all our iniquity. He will cleanse us even from the causes that started us in the first place to rebel. And I just named these few, but a lot of it could be family stuff, family beliefs, things, ways we were raised. I mean, it's so many elements to it that only God really knows the reason why you chose to rebel in the first place, because of, roots of things that you believe. And so I again encourage you to go to God. Talk to God about this situation. Talk to God about your rebellion. Talk to God about helping you to turn it around, that He will cleanse you from your iniquities, so that He can then begin to restore you. Because that's where you will begin to live the life that you and that God had desired for you to live.